those are pretty decent welds. It's been a long time since I've TIG welded, and I decided that if I'm gonna make the exhaust for the Datsun, if I'm gonna make the turbo kit for the Datsun, if I'm gonna make the downpipe for my Blue Miata, I'm gonna need to learn how to TIG weld better, because I'm not very good right now. But welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're working on the drift truck. I'm used to working on the Datsun, and going from the Datsun to this thing makes this thing feel massive. Absolutely massive, but it's really not that big. Today we are fixing two of the major issues with this thing. Number one is a bad wheel bearing in back. While driving this thing, once you get up to like 40, 45 miles per hour, it starts to shake and you hear a noise like a whoosh, 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 whoosh. Originally, I thought it was just the brakes rubbing on something. Did a little more thinking, did a little bit more research, and I've discovered it's a bad wheel bearing. So we're gonna fix that wheel bearing. While we're working on the rear end doing this stuff, we are gonna go ahead and lock it. Now, this is a Ford 88, and Ford 88s have a bunch of aftermarket lockers for them. Here's the problem. A good LSD for this rear end that is nice to drive on the street, but performs very well on the track is kind of expensive. I could get a cheap locker like a mini spool, but it behaves essentially like a welded diff, and well, it's still $100. I've also heard that mini spools are kind of hard to install. You have to modify your axles, your C-clips in order to make everything fit. It just sounds like a pain. So for now, we are gonna weld the diff. In the future, I do wanna get a legit LSD. The nice thing is if I weld the diff correctly, we can just take those spider gears out in the future and replace it with an LSD. So welding the diff, it's not ruining anything. It's just a very temporary, very cheap fix for the one wheel peel. First drift event is April 14th, if we're going to that one, and the next one after that is April 28th. So we have only a couple weeks until this thing needs to be drifting, and a welded diff is a good option right now. So that's what we're doing today. We're fixing the rear end on the B2200. We have to open up the back cover. Once we get in there, drain the fluid, clean everything up, we can disassemble the center section of the diff and allow the axles to come flying out. Once the axles are out, then we can take the wheel bearings out, put new seals in, put it all back together, weld the diff. You know what the worst thing about this axle is? These bolts, yeah, they're standard size. They're not metric. I can already smell it. Not smell as bad as I thought it would. I'm so used to Miata diffs, which are the puniest little things ever. If you're looking for a good way to clean out your diff, fire is always a good answer. That was anticlimactic. Aha! There we go. That's what I like to see. So now, I don't know how to take apart a solid axle, so I need to look it up. The nice thing is that since this axle is out of a Ford Explorer, which are super common in America, there's a bunch of videos online. So I'm just gonna go hop onto YouTube and figure out what to do. Believe it or not, I actually use YouTube quite a bit to figure out what to do. It's a very, very good resource. This bolt right here is what holds the cross pin in the center section of the differential. That cross pin is what holds the axles in. So once you remove this bolt, then the cross pin drops out and then you can remove the axle. Problem is that this bolt is supposed to be about 3 times longer than this, but see, it broke. So that's why it's so short. It would be as easy as just drilling out the bolt that is stuck inside the diff. The problem is that the location of this bolt makes it physically impossible to drill out without some special tools. Of course, those special tools are only offered online, and of course it's Friday, so it doesn't ship over the weekend, so I can't do anything on the rear axle. I wouldn't be as mad that it broke if I could get it tomorrow, but the fact that I have to wait 3 days to get it. That's the annoying part. I guess we've got to change of plans. I'm gonna go ahead and start working on removing the gas tank. I don't feel like doing anything now. That's the problem. It's like, once I start a project, I want to finish that project. I don't want to start a different project. Currently, the gas tank is right here, which is a fine location, but the problem with this axle is that the diff is not in the center. It's actually a little bit off to the passenger side, which is the same side that the gas tank is on. And of course, it has been contacting the gas tank, and it's actually caused a little bit of damage on the gas tank. So that's one reason why we're moving it. The other reason is that we want to do a 4-link suspension on this rear axle at some point, and that means we need space in front of the rear axle and the gas tanks right there. We are still going to be using the stock gas tank. We're just going to be moving it to this big open area right here. It's going to be a little low. I think eventually we will upgrade to a fuel cell, but yet again, that's an expense I don't need right now. This stock gas tank works perfect. The fuel pump in it works perfect. If we went with a fuel cell, we'd need a new fuel pump. We'd need more fittings for the lines, and much simpler just to use the stock gas tank. And you know, in order to fit it, we're gonna have to cut out this big support right here, weld in a new support so the frame is straight, and then build some mounts, cut a hole in the bed for the filler and for some fuel lines. Before we cut the brace out, I'm gonna weld in a tube that connects the frames, or the two parts of the frame. That way when we cut this thing out, it doesn't flex at all. So I went ahead and just unclipped the wiring harness, moved it out of the way. So now I can just slice and slice with the Sawzall. We'll have to cut out this part of the bed, but space indeed. You really don't realize how big a gas tank is until you try to drain it. This thing had less than 1/4 of a tank in it, and it's filling this thing up pretty quickly. I'm gonna need a new bucket, and I don't have another bucket, so please stop. As soon as this is drained, I'm gonna instantly put it into another car so I don't have just gasoline laying around in an open container. It's actually like a really pretty bluish color. Since I kind of spilled, I'm just gonna go ahead and let that stuff evaporate overnight before working on anything else, because I'm gonna be welding, grinding. Even if there's just a little bit of residue, whoosh, fire. So guys, that is going to be it for this video. We didn't finish any project, which sucks, and I'm sorry about that, but that bolt broke and I can't really do anything until the stuff gets here on Monday. And I have to post a video before then. Otherwise, YouTube's like, hey, you're not an active channel and I'm not gonna share your videos. It sucks for me more than you, trust me. But we did get a lot of progress done. The diff is ready to be disassembled. The wheel bearings are ready to be repaired. The gas tank is ready to drop down and be mounted in the other location. In the next video, we'll finish the gas tank, maybe the diff as well. I don't know. Thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a like. If you didn't, please give it a dislike, but tell me why. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So peace out, have a great day, and goodbye.